Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Language of Leadership. I'm your host, Chuck Marting, and this week we have a very special guest with us, Victoria Gallagher. And we just did our introduction to her, but I wanted to give Victoria an opportunity to tell you a little bit about herself and what she does and how what she does is really beneficial to leaders and will help them with their leadership and the things that they do in the workplace. So, Victoria, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Chuck. It's a pleasure being here, and I just love talking about law of attraction and the principles of manifesting. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, just a little bit about who I am. I've been a certified hypnotherapist for the past 24 years, and started really teaching about the principles of law of attraction after The Secret came out back in 2006, this was something, it was a conversation that was on the tip of my tongue all the time. And I was just, doing a lot of, conversing with people about it. And then one day, someone said, you should write a book. So I wrote a book, which you're in the middle of reading that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And, it's Practical Law of Attraction. And, it's the practical side to this because I think one of the key thing that a lot of people, that write off this idea, this premise, this concept of law of attraction is, they haven't really been able to create maybe tangible results with it because they just have some false ideas about the
Hmm.
way that it actually works. And so I really I just really broke it down for people in a more of a practical sense, common sense, logical approach to manifest and create the life of your dreams. And because anything really is possible in my mind with the power of believing in yourself.
Absolutely. We talked prior to recording the podcast, and your book, Practical Law of Attraction, Aligning Yourself with the Manifesting Conditions and Successfully Attract Your Desires, is a book that I have on repeat. I talked to you about, I have it on Audible, so it's in my rolling university. I listen to it quite a bit. But the thing is when I find a book that I listen to that resonates with me, that rings true, I end up getting the book too, because I want to be
Mm-hmm.
able to highlight, I want to be able to take sections or portions of that out and put that in for my own education to be able to go back to it and to rethink it, relook at it, things like that. So when we're talking about that, how do you feel the manifestation and hypnotherapy and things like that? How do you feel those things would benefit a leader in what they're doing?
Oh my goodness. I mean, in the exact same way that it benefits anybody who wants to, manifest even like tangible physical things. Because leadership is, it's all about, you know, it's all about, gaining trust of, the people that you're leading, including yourself. And I believe, being a leader, it really begins with being a leader of yourself. And when you are confident and believing in yourself, other people are going to pick up on that
Hmm.
energy. And so there's so many different qualities that I actually go into in my book that and in my hypnotherapy practice that really help a person to grow as a person. Because I think also leadership is about developing yourself and continuing to grow yourself, as you're embodying the concept of growing and becoming, because we never stop learning, we never stop growing and becoming.
Hmm.
We're helping transfer that same energy into other people to, see themselves as leaders. Because I think leaders ultimately develop other leaders.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
it's about inspiring leadership in other people. You don't want to just lead people just to have to keep leading and leading and leading.
Yeah, you're
You
absolutely
want
right. There has to be a payoff
you
there
want to lead.
somewhere.
Exactly. If you're constantly leading, then you're not, really getting much out of that. So it's leading other people to lead themselves. And to do that, you really need to be an example of somebody who, has these qualities, the qualities of, taking responsibility for yourself, for the things that you say that you're going to do, having that integrity that we talked about, doing always, doing the things that you say that you're going to do. Because when you're a person that is dependable, reliable, trustworthy, honest, transparent, all of those things, people can see that, they can feel that, and then they're that much more inspired. So where hypnotherapy really comes into play is it just kind of helps you to, if you're weak in any of those areas, it really kind of helps you to enhance and strengthen those qualities. It helps you to tap into the subconscious mind and program that, that consistency and that focus and seeing yourself actually in through the process of visualization and programming your subconscious mind, actually seeing yourself walking through the steps through your day of being this kind of person. And so it's very, very powerful.
Almost every leader that I have come across, that I have studied or I've spoken to or even had on the show, it's been interesting that each one of them has talked about how manifesting or being able to have hypnotherapy or things like that that have been significant in their abilities to lead, and they accredit to their success. And I think when you look through history, you find that to be true as well. You have people that have taken that and they've implemented it, and it's helped them. I mean, even you talked about earlier the movie The Secret. I mean, that's a perfect example of people that have taken that and utilized it within their leadership, within their influence, and how it's benefited them and it's changed their life. It's an incredible tool. Um, One of the websites that you have is Hip Talk, and I have that on my phone because, like I was telling you earlier, I have a couple of the programs that I have for myself because I felt that I needed to get better at. One of them is I do public speaking, and so I have the public speaking downloaded, and then I also have Boost Your Power of Influence because I felt both of those things they come together and they work very well. And not that I was really having specific issues with that, but I felt that it made me better equipped to be able to do better. And that was the whole thing is I want to be able to do the best presentation that I can for people. And I know that it's helped me immensely. And it's fun to do and just to kind of challenge yourself. I've really enjoyed that as well. Um, but there were several things in your book that I felt are very intricate to leadership in and of itself. And the first one I wanted to talk to you about was integrity. And when I read this chapter in the book, it reminded me of the first principle, like we talked about earlier, of Jack Canfield in the Success Principles, where he says that you need to take 100% responsibility for your life. And when you said, unfortunately, it's all too common to say one thing and act another way, and this is regarded as a normal, rational way of being. I sat there in my car going, "Ah, that it's true. It is so true."
It is.
So can you talk a little bit about how integrity and leadership and how in manifesting and stuff is really going to help a leader become a better leader?
Absolutely. Well, so I believe that it kind of comes down to building confidence and faith and belief in the power of your word. because I truly believe that it's the word. Everything starts with that. I mean, whether that word is a thought, whether that word is spoken, whether that word is spoken to you, it all starts right there. So if you say to yourself that, I'm going to be the type of person who accomplishes whatever I set out to accomplish. But then you turn around and you say, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out and I'm going to eat a healthy breakfast and da 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 da. And you say all these things to yourself. And then you wake up in the morning and it's 5 a.m. and you push the snooze button, then you're automatically breaking your word with yourself. You're
Yep.
automatically like out of integrity. Because what is integrity? The way that I like to define it, and it's really kind of from I took Landmark. I don't know if you're familiar with Landmark Worldwide, but this is I sort of adopted the definition that they give for integrity, and the word integrity, according to them, is whole and complete. So when your word is whole and complete, when you do the things that you say that you're going to do, then your word is much, much more powerful. But when you have like, these little like breaks in like I said I was going to do this, but I did this other thing instead, without any acknowledgement of it, then your word is no longer whole and complete. Your word is, it's got little chinks in it.
Hmm.
And so when you go out to manifest and say, hey, I'm going to achieve all my dreams. I am a goal achiever. You know, I, there's another part of you that knows the truth,
Hmm.
and it knows that, well, when I say this, I actually do this other thing instead. When I say I'm going to get up at 5, I actually don't get up at 5. I choose to snooze, choose to use the snooze button instead. And that just goes for everything. I mean, whether it's being on time, whether it's checking off the little to-do list that you make for yourself every day, whether it's adhering to your diet, whether it's the thing that you said that you were, I'm going to try to show up at that party that you invited me to. All of that really it goes into developing the power of the word. And so the word is everything.
Hmm.
Imagine that how powerful your word would be if you just did everything that you said that you were going to do.
That's
And
incredible.
it's not to rank anybody down because we all have this. Like no one's integrity is perfect. We're going to sometimes break our words. But how do you manage that situation, that scenario where we do break our words? Because to me, it's all about self-awareness. It's all about becoming more aware of when you do. If you had never heard this conversation, if you had never heard about how important and significant your word is, and you just lived the way that most people did, and you're just going to kind of go through life wondering, why can't I achieve my goals? Why am I not able to complete these things? Why do I have this self-sabotage? Why do I have this you know lack of ability just to follow through? Why do I procrastinate? Why can't I stop procrastinating? All of these problems, they really stem from the same thing.
It reminds me of what they call imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
where you're saying that you're going to do this, but you do a totally opposite thing. And I think how critical that is in leadership. If your team is seeing you say one thing, but you never follow through, what are you teaching them? That
Yeah.
it's okay. So then when they do it, you shouldn't be too surprised that they're not following through with the tasks or the things that you've agreed upon if you're not even doing it.
Because they are following your lead.
Exactly. So you're giving them permission to do that. You're teaching them that it's acceptable and that it's okay. That is such a huge leadership skill is integrity, and I think it's a skill because it's something that it can be taught. You can learn how to have more integrity. Um, I've seen plenty of people in my life that were raised in a different way, or they were taught that a certain way was the appropriate way, and then they discovered later on that it was totally different, that it
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way, and they've changed and made steps to change it. So I know it's something that you can change, and I think that's where your program and the things that you teach. I really like in your book that you have worksheets at the end of each one of these. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that helps people and benefits them?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's so many books out there that you just read, and reading gives you information, but it doesn't give you transformation.
Mm, awesome. Yeah,
And I love that I just said that because I just literally pulled that from nowhere.
that was really
But
good.
but it's true. And so unless you actually apply the information, it's not gonna get integrated into who you are and help you really in any way. It's just going to go in just the same way as, you might watch a movie, or you might, you know, watch a TV show, or even reading a fiction book. It's just for fun and entertainment and information. But it's not really going to go anywhere. So the worksheets are really designed to help you, to just give you a platform to actually do the work on yourself. You could read the exercises and then just kind of like decide, okay, well, maybe I'll do that, at some point. But the worksheets, when you download them, they kind of give you a little bit of a structure. Things are numbered from, 1 to 10. There's lines, there's questions. And so you're just much, much more likely to follow through and answer these questions that are going to ultimately, help you to design your life. And that's what they're really designed to do, is really to, help you to just break this down a little bit more and, come up with a game plan for how are you going to do this. And like when it comes to visualization, for example, this is something that a lot of people struggle with visualizing. And they'll go into it, they'll maybe visualize, and then they'll just kind of get distracted. And so, like, I have people, I teach them how to visualize. And then I actually have them create their own visualization script. So this is something that, once you write it down, then you kind of have a little bit of a pattern that you can follow. You have like, okay, at first I'm going to imagine myself, doing this, and then I'm going to imagine this, and then, like step by step. And so if you have the script, you can read it to yourself on your phone, your little recorder on your phone, and you can go through this visualization listening to it or just memorizing the script that you wrote for yourself. So there's all those like little tools that I really feel like just totally enhance the process and take it to the next level.
It's funny that not funny, but it's one of those things that I look back at, and I think kids are the best ones that can visualize. And I think each one of us at some point in our lives probably got accused of daydreaming or doing these other things, and we're taught that it's a bad thing, and so we kind of lose that skill because we're told not to do it. And then become adults and you find out how powerful of a tool that actually was. And now you're trying to learn all over again how to do it. Where when you were a kid, it was like instant. You knew how to do it. You just did it. And then people like, hey, you need to pay attention. Well, why not ask, what are you doing? What are you seeing? And figure out what it is that the kid is doing instead of just saying, we need to get them to stop daydreaming. They're not paying attention.
Yeah, you're so right. And most, I think I did actually read a study about imagination and about how much we actually lose from the time we're like 6 years old until we're like 18 years old. And I think we lose about 80% of our ability to imagine. However, the skill is still there.
Mm,
And so you can actually get it back. It's one of those things that it once you decide, that it's actually a good thing. And, it is something you never actually lose. It's just that we do, I mean, you can relearn how to do it and you can ultimately get it all back. But we're only using a very small fraction of what's available to us. And, even Einstein said that imagination is everything and that imagination is more important than knowledge. But in school, they teach us, they want to teach us that knowledge is more important. And, it's limited. If you really think about it, like knowledge is limited, but the imagination, you're tapping into something that's greater
hmm
than your own mind, in my opinion. I mean, because it's like people say, oh, that's just pretend, you're just pretending, or it's fake, or it's just your imagination, it's only in your imagination, right? And so
Yeah.
they like minimize this superpower that we have. And it's really, imagination is everything. I mean, where do these thoughts come from? If you
Yeah.
really think about it, I mean, they're coming from somewhere. And
Mhm.
it's like, but we say, well, let's play make believe. Well, playing make believe is all it is tapping into a much bigger reservoir of information than just in your own brain. It's tapping into the super conscious,
The
I like to
universe.
call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. You've talked just a little bit about this, but maybe we can talk a little bit more about it, and that's awareness.
Mm.
That was one of the more powerful things that I read, and I wrote something down that I read in your book, and it said, when you become self-aware, you know your strengths, your weaknesses, and personality type, but it's more than this. Fully knowing yourself includes being aware of your thoughts and watching them objectively as an observer without emotion or attachment.
Mhm.
That for me was powerful. I think that a lot of times when we go through this and not being self-aware, we don't really analyze or realize what it is that we're doing and how we can self-sabotage ourselves, or we can cause our own problems or issues. What do you want to say about awareness and how it affects you as a leader that we haven't already talked
Well,
about? If there's anything you want to add.
yeah, I think, starting from the lack of awareness, I think most people are kind of sleepwalking through
Mm.
life. They
Oh, very
just,
good.
they've been programmed at such an early age that this is how things are. This is how the world is. This is how people are. This is how you should be. This is what you need to do. And and so we just kind of like our brains are kind of numb to whatever, we're just sort of flitting and fluttering through the day and not really paying much attention to, well, why do I respond this way? Why am I having this reaction? Why does this make me happy? Why does this make me sad? And so really just getting to know yourself is getting to tap into your full potential. I mean, if you want to do that kind of thing. if you want to tap into your full potential, you're going to have to know the full story of who you are, and where some of these thoughts come from, because most of us, I read a book when I was like 18 years old. It was the very, very first book that I ever read on personal development,
Mhm.
and it was a book called Total Self-Confidence, and it was by Dr. Robert Anthony. And the first chapter in this book was called Dehypnotizing Yourself.
Hmm.
And it was really interesting because later on I became a hypnotist, which really being a hypnotist is all about dehypnotizing, deprogramming the beliefs that we've been carrying around with, that we got hypnotized to believe. So most of us are walking around with all these ideas in our minds about things, about what we are capable of, about our, what's possible for us. But these are all based on these things that we've convinced ourselves are true. We've convinced ourselves that, I'm too old for that. I'm too young for that. I'm a woman. I'm a man. I'm, this color, whatever, like, all for all these reasons, this limits us from being able to step into our greatest selves.
Hmm.
And all these things are just false. They're just not facts. They're just not true. And so, self-awareness is about tapping into, well, where did I get this thought? Where did I get this belief? Why do I feel this way? And only then, once you know the truth of that, then you can change it.
Hmm.
Then you can step into, okay, I've had this weakness. I have this strength. How can I strengthen those weaknesses? How can I make these strengths even stronger? How can I, move forward toward being all that I can be?
That's, I hope that those of you that are listening are taking notes, or that you're at least going to look at the show notes, because what Victoria is sharing with us is powerful. There's a lot of these things that I hear from a lot of leaders, what you're saying. How do I do this? And you're actually telling them how you need to do this and how to look at it. And that it's incredible. So thank you. Um,
Oh, you're
Patience.
welcome.
Patience is the other one that really rang true with me. Sometimes because I have a lack of it, I felt need to do better at it. But you'd said in there when you talked about patience that patience is an integral part of manifestation, the manifestation process and how to develop it. And I really like the analogy that you gave in there about the steamship. Can you talk to us
Mm.
about that steamship example? Because it really made it a lot clearer to me in understanding patience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when you come to a point in your life where you decide that I'm going to make a change. I'm this way right now, and I want to be this way. You have like a steamship, you have been in this momentum, moving toward in this particular direction, whether it's a negative direction or a positive direction, whichever direction you're going, you have momentum and you've built up this, energy and this thought process and this belief and these emotions and everything toward that end. And when you decide that you want to turn around and you want to make a change, you have to, like, it's going to apply, it's going to it's it's going to require you to kind of put on the brakes in a slow way. I mean, the steamship doesn't just and turn around. It takes a lot of energy and new momentum and new ways of thinking to completely change and turn around that trajectory to move. So where patience really comes in is to realize, these things don't necessarily take place overnight. Just take the person like that's 100 pounds overweight.
Hmm.
Okay. They've been eating a certain way, as they have a certain metabolism, they have certain habits. And, it's going to take, to shed 100 pounds, it's not going to be an overnight process. It's going to be a process of, okay, I've got to change the eating habits. I've got to I've got to burn this many calories.
Hmm.
And then that's going to ultimately create and rev up the metabolism, and the metabolism is going to help to, shed the weight.
Hmm.
It's the same thing with any type of goal that you're working on. It's going, you have to almost like reverse engineer what you're doing, and you have to do it long enough to start to gain that momentum. And that's where the patience really comes in, is to realize that, you know, you're planting a new seed, you're changing directions, and change, it takes time. It just takes time. And the more we can just accept that and allow that and be patient with that and present to the fact that, we are making these little micro adjustments. We just maybe don't see the result of those micro adjustments. Then we're going to be able to continue, and those micro adjustments are going to add up to bigger and bigger changes that we're
Hmm.
ultimately going to be able to see.
Yeah, especially in the society that we live in today, I can order something on Amazon today and it'll be here this afternoon.
Hmm.
We can have gratification instantly in society. And so having patience when dealing with a lot of things is so difficult because we're a society got used to instantaneously having whatever we want. And
Yeah.
I that's why that really helped me because sometimes, you find yourself beating yourself up because you don't have patience. You're like going, God, I should have fixed this earlier, or I shouldn't have allowed it to go on this long. And you're trying to go down that road of changing your behavior, not understanding that, like you said, it's like losing weight. It's just not going to happen overnight. It will gradually happen, but you have to be patient and allow the process to work its way out. So,
Yeah, and we keep adapting to the speed of life around us.
hmm.
But then we think that we as human beings are supposed to operate at the same level.
Hmm.
Or, if you're used to getting your pizza, in 30 minutes and then it takes 35 minutes, you're just like, where is it already? Where is it already? Or, now I've got Chat GPT, and it's like, I mean, that creates new information at the speed of light. I don't know if you've
I
tapped
haven't.
into that yet, but
No,
it it creates new information at the speed of light. And it's like, now that I've been using this for the past few months, it's like, come on,
everything is
it's
slow.
not going fast enough. I mean, you could like literally write a book in a day if you like sat
Wow.
here and, oh yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. I don't even know if I need that.
But yeah, so we continue to, and the like with the Amazon thing, it's like, yeah, I've got to wait till tomorrow to get the, thing that I just ordered.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's crazy. I remember ordering stuff in the Sears Roebuck catalog and stuff like that, and you had to wait 2 or 3 weeks. Wow.
Yeah,
I don't know what people would do today, so
I know, it's
it's
crazy.
crazy.
But
Um,
we as human beings, I mean, we just, we require a little bit more time.
well, and especially as a leader, when you're dealing with people on a team, everybody's at different levels and at different stages.
Mm,
And having that patience to not only teach somebody, but allow them to go through the process is sometimes a painful experience for a leader. And sometimes I think we forget that we've also had to go through that process and we have to allow them to take that time and maybe help them to get to that point, but to be and have patience with them and understand that it's a learning process for everybody.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
the one of the last things that I wanted to talk to, and again, God, this has been great. So I really appreciate your time in doing this. But we've talked about it, and I think we need to probably go into it so people understand a little bit, and that's manifestation. Um, in order for one of the things that you had said in your book was in order for you to succeed, you have to take action. Action is often the missing link in the law of attraction, not just any action, though. So, can you expand on that a little bit on manifestation and how
Uh,
that's going to benefit a leader?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of people when they hear about and learn about, law of attraction and manifestation, they have this misconception that it's all about just, we've been talking a lot about getting your thinking on board, getting your beliefs turned around, using the power of your imagination and all of that. But all of that is foundation. All of, it's really setting the stage for the next step. And the next step is all about the process of of manifestation.
Hmm.
And the process of manifestation ultimately, it requires inspired action. And, not just any action, but inspired action. Because so often people are taking action and you can be an action taker without these foundational pieces, and then you could be on the wrong track, and you could be taking actions that aren't really lining up with your true desire and what you truly want to do. What I mean is, like, so many people sometimes, they say, "Oh, these are all the things I have to do. I have to do this. I have to do that, but I don't really want to do that." And that only lasts so long. It's not sustainable for people to just continue day after day, month after month, year after year to do things that they don't really want to do just to create an end result. And what I mean by that is people say that they want to make a lot of money. There's so many people that they want to make a lot of money, and then they learn, well, okay, so this is what this person did to make a lot of money, and so I'm going to do that. And then they start doing that, and they realize, I hate doing this. I hate picking up the phone and talking to people, or I
Hmm.
hate, I don't know, whatever it is. I hate building sales funnels, or I hate marketing, or I hate sales, or I hate, trading, or whatever it is. But, so they're doing something that's a forced action to get, some sort of result. And ultimately, that's where the whole patience also takes place. If you are feeling like impatient about achieving your goal and you're taking these actions, it might mean that you're not taking inspired actions, and that,
Mm.
maybe the goal, is not really your true deepest desire. And so that's where, you do have to take actions, but the actions that you're taking should actually feel good. They should actually be something that, if you're taking these actions, that just as a result of feeling good, having a good vibration, and doing something that you really love, then the result that you're looking for will come as a direct result of you just doing and taking inspired actions. For example, let's just say that you really, you have a goal to be in shape. And I don't know why, it's just a little bit more of a tangible thing
Hmm.
that people can understand. So a lot of times I just use that. And it's like, so let's just say you have a goal of being in shape, but you decide, well, I'm going to go on, some kind of crazy diet that, like, there's nothing attractive about that diet whatsoever, and I'm going to work out this way, and there's nothing attractive to you at all about working out that particular way. You don't like it. How long are you going to do it? and then you're going to fall off and you're not going to actually do it. But if you said, hey, you know what? I'm going to take up yoga. I'm going to take up hiking. I'm going to take up, something that you really, really love doing. And, or I'm going to find some kind of, you know, uh, nutrition, a new way of eating that's really healthy, that really, really I enjoy. And then
Mhm.
by taking this inspired action and doing these things that you're called to do, ultimately you will get the desired result, from doing what your heart tells you to do and what you feel more passionate about.
Yeah,
Does that kind of
absolutely.
make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think that with the tools that you've talked about and you've given us just through this podcast, it gives us the ability to see what we need to correct, the things that we may want to make better,
Hmm.
and to be able to do it in a way that's going to make sense, that's not going to be
Yeah.
overwhelming or too hard, and to take a little bit at a time. I think just identifying one area at a time and focusing on that first before you try to tackle several different things at the same time and lump them into one thing of manifestation is going to be really rough. I don't think it's going to be, if you're looking for success, I don't know if you're going to be too successful at first doing it that way, but um, you would probably
Yeah.
be able to answer
I
to that better than
totally,
me.
yeah. I totally agree. It's all about, really narrowing down your focus. Because the more, focus is energy. And so the more you have a massive amount of energy and focus on one end, result that you want, the more likely and the more quickly that's going to come about. But if you're diluting that focus and saying, oh, I'm going to focus on 10 things, it's like, how are you possibly going to have enough focus on any one thing? You're not going to have enough manifestation power to bring that, bring all those things about. So, I always tell people, because so many people have multiple things that they want. They want love, money, health, all of the things at the same time. And, it's like, where do I focus? What's the most, and I always kind of have them look at it almost like a domino. Like, what's the domino that you need to knock down that's going to ultimately affect all the other dominoes in your life? And so, really put your attention on what's going to have the biggest impact. If it's like, I need to get my um, money life together to get my love life together, or to my money life together to get my health together, whatever order it happens for you. For me, sometimes it's like the getting the physical going,
Hmm.
kind of gives me I just feel better about myself, when
Sure.
I have the physical going and I have more energy and I can think clearly. And when I can think clearly, then I can manifest more success in my business.
Hmm.
And then when I have more success in my business, then I feel like I'm much more available to my partner for my love life,
Hmm.
And so that's sort of my order of command. And so you got to kind of figure out your order of command, like what's going to be the thing that's going to make the biggest impact, that's going to ultimately knock down the rest of those dominoes.
Yeah, I totally agree.